Hello, welcome to my accessibility journey. My name is David Best, and I hope this presentation will give you a greater understanding into the accessibility challenges in delivering, perceiving, and understanding information that you are trying to communicate. Accessibility is about effective communication. That is, how we perceive information, how we interpret that information, and how we use that information. So, communication is really all about multiple means of accessibility. In the 1960s, during my grade school years, I was dependent on people to read textbooks to me and translate my Braille notes into print for the teacher. However, by the time I reached university, digital research and development was radically changing my ability to communicate more effectively. Information can be perceived through smell, taste, touch, hearing, and vision. In the summer, I can feel the warmth of the sun and the change in temperature when I walk into the shade of a tree. Using my sense of touch, I can read Braille, feel the shape of objects, and perform many tasks without sight. Walking down the street, I can smell the aroma of coffee shops, bakeries, and flower gardens. Also, I can hear the flow of traffic and the chatter of other pedestrians. And yes, even objects that are at head level, like trees, posts, and fences, are detected. But unfortunately, things like benches and bicycles in the pathway are not so easily detected. More recently, digital communication has enhanced information delivery for people with disabilities. But unfortunately, too many designers still do not think beyond their own means of perceiving information, which for the most part is vision. Knowledge is achieved through the understanding of perceived information. So hand me a printed book and I will learn nothing, but hand me a Braille book and I will gain important knowledge. Drop me in the middle of a large parking lot or in the center of a noisy mall and I will be disoriented. But design pathways with clearly marked indicators for doors and stairways, or hand me a smartphone with accessible GPS tracking, then I will have the knowledge to travel independently. Misleading information is very disruptive, resulting in confusion and bad decisions. A farmer in a chicken coop, expecting to find his next dinner, is disoriented and confused by the message. Making good decisions is about having current and accurate knowledge. That is, knowledge is power. Audible traffic signals make it possible for me to safely cross busy streets, and creating well-designed, accessible websites make it possible for me to learn new skills, shop online, and gain meaningful employment. As technology has advanced, so has my confidence, independence, and prosperity. In summary, design is about bridging the communication barriers through multiple means of representation, expression, and engagement of that information. The barriers encountered are often due to the lack of resource availability, product and service affordability, and information accessibility. Technology innovation has certainly changed the quality of my life. But going forward, designers in both the physical environment and the virtual world must understand human communication needs in perceiving and understanding information. When I was in university, my perception of future technology was not very imaginative, but I loved the challenge that advancing innovation presented. The seamless merging of people and machines through artificial intelligence is revolutionizing the lives of people with disabilities. There are two global trends that are driving the digital economy by seamlessly integrating machines and people: innovation advancement and human advancement. Understanding the impact of the two global trends of technology innovation and human evolution will give insights to the digital communication challenges in the modern age. Technology drives consumer demand, and consumer demand drives social evolution. That is, people did not ask for a Facebook or Google, but once available, people increasingly expected privacy, security, and accessibility, which is controlled through legislation. So a company's success depends upon a healthy balance between innovation and people. Machines connecting through vast networks, known as the Internet of Things, provide big data analytics and artificial intelligence for economic growth. The Internet provides interconnectivity for devices from computers to wearables to appliances and to vehicles. But many of these products are not usable by blind people due to accessible design limitations. So, be sure to augment your product interfaces with touch and audible features so that we can share in the economic prosperity. People connecting together through vast networks, known as the World Wide Web, are closing the gap in cultural differences and levels of education. The Internet and the World Wide Web of information, like the printing press for the sighted world, has expanded my horizon of opportunities. That is, only if you design your communication channels with inclusive standards. Just a quick perspective on how things have changed during my lifetime. Up until the 1960s, you were measured according to your IQ, the intelligence quotient. People with disabilities had less value due to the limited educational resources at that time. But the civil rights movements shattered that mold of profiling, and the silicon chip was accelerating innovation. The 1970s is referred to as the EQ, the emotional quotient decade. The women's movement established a new level of valuing relationships in the workplace. And innovation like GPS, OCR, and speech synthesis was promising a future of independence. In the 1980s, we were on a roll with increased employment opportunities due to the introduction of self-help groups and text-based computers. That was the SQ, the social quotient decade. The world was shrinking due to expanded air travel and long-distance telecommunication. The 1990s was the PQ, the political quotient decade. Governments around the world were starting to regulate social behavior with accessibility and disability standards. Unfortunately, our dreams were shattered with the introduction of the graphical user interface that changed the way people interacted with computers. This was the start of the employment decline for blind Canadians. At the turn of the century, we moved into the CQ, the cultural quotient decade, which inspired employee diversity groups and the formation of the World Wide Web Consortium Group. This brought greater attention to the digital communication needs for people with disabilities. The past decade is referred to as DQ, the digital quotient decade, which was the battleground for the merging of human and machine, opening the Wild West of the Internet of Things. This decade raised the public conscience of social inclusion, but created a digital divide by ignoring the digital communication needs of non-visual people. Going forward in this decade, we will experience the AQ, the Artificial Intelligence Decade, where we must take control of our destiny by closing the digital gap between the leadership understanding of accessibility and the management implementation of accessibility. That is, accessibility is a measurement of productivity, not disability, through the design principles of dignity, independence, integration, and equality. When products and services are made available, affordable, and accessible to people with disabilities, then the human limitations are minimized. Accommodating special services is not the same as integrating universal design strategies. My life journey has taken me from dependency on volunteer readers to independence in accessing digital content. So, the more you integrate my communication needs into your business, the less time and effort you need in providing special need accommodations. The Opticon was one of the earliest electronic devices that gave me access to the printed word. A handheld camera would translate each character onto a vibrating finger pad. This device was very expensive, but made available through government funding. This device allowed me to read computer punch cards, hard copy printouts, and the computer screen. This technology came available when I entered university, and it gave me the ability to independently read printed materials. It certainly was not time efficient, but was very effective. I graduated from the University of Western Ontario with a Bachelor of Science degree in computer engineering. Volunteer students made themselves available to read course materials and take class notes. Government funding made it possible for me to obtain assistive technologies like the Braille embosser, Opticon, and other personal computer accessories. Although not ideal, these support resources made it possible for me to gain access to educational content. Although I intended to attend law school, I found it overwhelming, as course content was not readily available and very difficult to obtain. I transferred into computer science, where the director of the department became a good friend and mentor, as he foresaw the role that computers would play in my future. Although a challenging time, this was a very exciting time, as I participated in the early research and development of digital, Braille production, text-to-speech, GPS tracking, and much more. The hard copy Braille embosser was very noisy and temperamental, but an innovation that gave me the ability to produce written content and perform computer programming tasks. The Kurzweil computer product was one of the earliest optical character recognition devices that allowed me to scan printed pages and have it read out by a text-to-speech synthetic voice. At that time, one of our major struggles was the resistance of publishing houses to convert from the analog typeset format to a digital format. However, today Audible Books is a mainstream service, and for the most part, publishers now create digital content that can be easily converted to accessible format. Steve Jobs was not passionate about computers. He was passionate about building tools to help people unleash their potential. While at university, I had the privilege in working with many of the leading innovative thinkers at the time.
Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary.
In 1981, I took the leap from school to the corporate world. My first job was with Air Canada in developing the first travel agency back office management computer workstation. However, at first there was resistance, as there was little confidence in my ability to perform the work. Despite the negative attitude, I challenged the belief by asking, how can I solve a problem if you do not give me a problem to solve? So, I was given 6 months to prove I could be productive. Data General was one of the first mini computer companies originating all the way back to the 1960s. The Data General Eclipse line of computers by Data General were 16-bit mini computers released in early 1974 and sold until 1988. The computer consoles were analog devices, and I had to read the display with the Opticon, which was not productive. However, after 3 months of collaboration with Data General, engineers, and assistive technology providers, I proved that I could be an asset to the team. This effort resulted in a new Data General Eclipse computer series that allowed assistive technologies to be connected directly to the interface and doing away with the need for the Opticon. I had to be creative and persistent to prove that I could be a productive worker. I was able to route information from the console port to the serial port, and using a homemade personal computer as a controller, I connected my Braille embosser, refreshable Braille display, and screen reader to the Data General mini computer. I drove the Air Canada computer technicians crazy in maintaining that old Braille equipment, but it was an exciting time of possibilities. Providing workplace accommodations during the 1980s was a real challenge, as digital technology was still in the early stages of development, and assistive technologies were very expensive. However, I had a successful career, as I was fortunate to have a talented team of people that was interested in learning about my digital communication needs and working on solutions. Trying to be competitive in the workplace and solve accessibility challenges is hard on relationships for both family members and coworkers. As a blind employee, I had to work much longer hours, put up with assistive technologies that continually broke down, and impose on the goodwill of other employees for support. However, I learned 3 important strategies. First, enhancing my accessibility skills in understanding the assistive technology tools and offering support for improvements. Second, maintaining social connections with other employees is critical for a healthy workplace. And third, talent development in the business operation is important to sustain employment and career growth. As a computer programmer during the 1980s and 1990s, I found it very difficult to maintain a work and family balance. I had to resolve many of my accessibility challenges on my own while performing work duties, as there were little support services at that time. I had to give up many hobbies and social activities so as to meet family and work obligations. So, credit for my successful career is largely due to the support of family, friends, and colleagues. During my career, the information technology sector went through many changes that impacted the work environment. Eventually, I ended up working for IBM Canada, and during that time, the workplace, culture, and tools had changed tremendously. Things like virtual work locations made it possible to work from home, reducing commuting time. Mobile, wireless, and miniaturization of technologies made it possible to work with more reliable tools and technical support services. The World Wide Web and the Internet of Things has made information more readily available, affordable, and accessible. Cultural diversity awareness and accessibility legislation has made mainstreaming disability limitations more acceptable. In the 1990s, digital technology shifted from text-based computers to the graphical user interface for the Microsoft, Apple, and IBM computers. This had a serious impact on employment for people living with vision loss. And I found myself forced out of the mini computer development into the mainframe computer systems development environment. This gave me an opportunity to gain skills in the network side of corporate infrastructures, and I gained work experience with the service-oriented architecture networking. With the rapidly growing global trend toward greater levels of accessibility, I became the IBM Canada subject matter expert and gained experience in project management. The rapid innovation changes, complex interfaces, and advanced skill sets needed to compete in the workplace today can be overwhelming. But with the proliferation of artificial intelligence, we are entering a new era of opportunities. Young people graduating from university today have a much more complex world to navigate, but the opportunities for those with vision loss has never been better. Pierre Elliott Trudeau once said, "Be ready when opportunity comes. Luck is the time when preparation and opportunity meet." So supporting innovative technologies are allowing people living with vision loss to develop skilled talents in preparation for the workplace, and they just need you to give them that opportunity. Are schools preparing students with disabilities to engage with opportunities? Understanding the 4 human rights principles will help businesses and students create a more inclusive society. Dignity is about self-empowerment through effective marketing that removes barriers between information and knowledge. Independence is about enablement through effective communications that removes barriers between accessibility and usability. Integration is about inclusion through effective procurement that removes barriers between passive and active participation. Equality is about satisfaction through effective policies that removes barriers between chaos and stability. Thank you for taking the time to join me on this journey. You can find me on the internet by typing david.best in your browser locator. As Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's done.